One of my funnest trips of the year, always when I get together with my big buddy, Christian Laettner. We've been fishing together for over a decade now. And, the guy's so passionate about fishing in general and muskies. It's neat to be around someone that big that's like a little kid fishing. And he just loves the muskie deal. And we had the perfect trip because we fished together a couple days, just he and I. And then John Gillespie, my buddy, came down. We did a TV show. And if you're, I'm sure everybody's this way, right? It's great to get out and start doing really good right away. But of course, sometimes that could be a curse. Worst thing you can do is catch one on the first cast.
No doubt.
In a lot of cases, that's the last one of the whole deal. But we started off a little tough. We ended up catching 3 muskies. The weather was abnormally warm. But then the activity level from the fish just got gradually better, and we just had a blast. I mean, the last 2 days, it's very rare anymore, especially with muskies, where you literally have any kind of a consistency, a fairly good bite all day long. And I would say those last couple of days, we didn't go any more than an hour without something happening. The weather was just right. It was frontal. I guess you could say it was aggravating because it was quite windy, so boat control was a little tough. But boy, they were just moving, and we had a great time. We caught a bunch of fish, and of course lost some and all of that. But it was what late fall is supposed to be all about.
So for people that don't know basketball, who is Christian Laettner?
Arguably the best all-time college basketball player. He used to play for Duke, and he had this famous shot in 92, I believe it was, where he basically drained the basketball, won the game at the end of the game at critical moments with seconds left. And he had a long career in the NBA as well, actually. And let's see, was on the Dream Team, got a gold medal for all that. So, he's done quite well, but the interesting thing about it is how hooked he is on fishing to me, and he doesn't even want to talk about basketball when you're out with him. It's amazing. So the guy's basically real famous if you follow basketball at all, but he doesn't want to talk about basketball, and he still runs kids camps and stuff like that. It's not like he gave up basketball, but you get him anywhere near a boat or Lake of the Woods, and you'd never know he ever played the game, frankly.
Wow.
Other than you might guess because you're looking up at him all the time.
So is that his favorite fishery? I guess first, how did he get involved in fishing? How did you hook up with him?
Well, that fishery is what happened. So he had not been a fisherman at all. Long story short, he signs on with the Minnesota Timberwolves. The strength and conditioning coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves is an angler who has a place in Morrison, Ontario, on Lake of the Woods. And he offered to take Christian up there. Just said, "Hey, you want to come up and try this?" And basically, without going any further, the rest is history. He didn't even catch one on a first trip, but he went muskie fishing and got totally hooked on it. Has been doing it ever since. And as far as me hooking up with him, I didn't really realize that. I had heard that through a couple of buddies that he fished Lake of the Woods, but at one point he kind of went semi-public with it. And I immediately I've always been completely inept at technology, and social media was kind of starting, but he kind of put it out there that he was into muskies. I told my wife, Esther, I said, somehow reach out to this guy. I don't remember if it was Facebook or what it was. But anyway, I said, you get a hold of him and tell him I want to go muskie fishing with him. And he said yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so was he, before he did that trip, up to Lake of the Woods, was he a fisherman, or was that like, for whatever reason, he just got hooked after that?
No, he kind of hit it off with Saul. And, this coach, I've also fished with Saul. Brandy's is the guy's name. And I forget how many years he was strength and conditioning coach, but quite a while. But anyway, he, I guess I probably heard a little bit about the actual conversation, but I think it was more nonchalant. They were getting to know one another and what do you like to do and that kind of thing. And, Saul threw it out there and Christian went. I think he'd actually offered to take several players. Most of them, turned it down, but Christian wanted to try it.
What has he ever talked to you? Maybe you've talked about it a lot. Like, just what is it about muskie fishing that just trips his trigger? Because like for someone who hadn't caught that or had that itch for fishing, and then all of a sudden to go up and, granted, Lake of the Woods, I can see how you could get hooked. I mean, if you've never done any kind of fishing before, and then you go up to a beautiful lake like that, and you're just surrounded by, I mean, to a certain extent, I get it, but with muskies, it's so, that strike everything, you got to work your butt off until that happens. It's a little bit harder to get that drug hit, if you will, from, and understand that bite, and that to me is why I got addicted to it. I guess if I had to look way back, like, did he tell you why muskies in particular are, he's so keen on?
Yeah, I think it was more or less, I mean, Lake of the Woods is a big deal to just before I go anywhere else. So I don't forget that, just the Canadian Shield period. He, he grew up in New York, the city boy, more or less, and he just loves it. They're the Canadian Shield. So that muskies are his heart, but he, the whole idea that he would go to Lake St. Clair, let's say, as a good example of an absolutely tremendous muskie fishery, but it just happens to be right in Detroit and city all around it. He wouldn't be into that nearly as much. But then, I think, people just like, I was wired to fish and you're wired to fish to a certain extent. And obviously he just didn't even know it. But somebody that excels like that as an athlete, I think is just kind of naturally going to be someone looking for, more challenge, in the fishing. And the funny thing is, I teased him actually the first couple times we went out and did some walleye stuff and some crappie stuff, and he still got the big grin.
Yeah.
There's not the same stock and whatever. So it's just enjoying.
Yeah, sure.
Out of the water. And I found with myself, it's the same way when when my ego was at peak phase, let's say, kind of like a moon phase,
right.
Early 20s and whatever, that was when I had like a decade of, I'm fishing muskies and muskies only, and everything else sucks. And I just got it. So I think to a certain extent, we all go through that, but if you love it, you love it, even if it's perch, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for watching this clip from Another Fishing Podcast. If you want to listen to the whole episode, all you got to do is click the link in the description, or to watch the full video, become a patron for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/anglinguploaded.